Hi. Um, I wrote down some thoughts of mine and I wanted to share it with y'all. If we don't talk about real issues in church, who else is going to define those issues and address how to deal with them? Culture's been trying to do that, but without God. And so we got a society that's failing at maintaining fruitful relationships, failing at self control, failing at showing kindness to one another, failing at being honest with each other, and failing at truly loving one another. Meanwhile, the church is here not giving an answer to these problems, even though we have the answer key right in front of us, if only we'd be diligent enough to just look at it. Maybe less people would be struggling with pornography if we spoke up and talked about it as a church family. Maybe less people would struggle with drug addiction if we actually had meaningful conversations with one another that build up real trust to open up about it. Maybe less people would be suffering silently in their mess if the church would take off their masks and stop acting as if we don't got problems and messes of our own that need cleaning up. The church is a hospital for sinners, not a country club for saints. Maybe if we talked more on how to have meaningful relationships, less people would be broken from toxic ones. Maybe if we talked more on dating, more people would be setting themselves up for long-term marriage instead of divorce. Why do we wait until the issue becomes too big to handle before analyzing the small things that lead up to the uncontrollable? Maybe if we talked more on keeping ourselves to a standard and setting reasonable boundaries, less people would feel used, abused, and or abandoned by the last person they were with. If the Bible has answers to all our questions, why aren't we using it to answer the question of how we are to live the lives God has given us? Each of us were born on this God-created planet for a purpose. Not one of you is an accident. You are not just the result of something. You were made for something bigger than you, and you are immensely loved by a heavenly Father who cares deeply for you. So what makes you think he's going to sit idly by as you struggle with your problems? Our God is not idle, but if you refuse his help, he will not force his help on you. To the church, I say step up and speak up. Let's be real in this place because we serve a real God who isn't afraid of our real problems. He's been around before the world began. He's seen a lot and has delivered the worst of men. What makes you think that he won't do it again? To the individual, I say God is bigger than the problems you face. Surrender it and watch God work in the places you couldn't imagine. If you haven't already, surrender your life to Jesus. If you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. He wants to give you a rich and satisfying life. Give God your problem and give your problem God. The thief's purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. John 10:10. This is what Jesus said. Do you believe? Thank you for listening, and I really hope that is helpful to you in a big way or some way.